So when I got accepted into medical school, my parents were proud of me. It was a very exciting time in all of our lives. Medicine's a very competitive field, and the fact that I got into medical school, we were all very excited. Never would we have imagined all these years later that I'd be in this position.
America, the land of the American dream. You can be anything you want if you study, work hard, and apply yourself. Maybe. Doug Medina had an American dream. His dream seemed attainable after becoming one of 190 applicants from 10,000 to enter the prestigious medical programs at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., where he graduated from with his doctorate in 2011. Few people know the risk that comes with becoming a doctor in the United States. We hear about large salaries, fancy cars, and assume that doctors have secure jobs waiting for them, especially when there's a shortage of doctors in our nation. If anything, we assume doctors have more opportunities than the average person. We are disconnected from how much they have invested and what they risk to help save lives. Dr. Medina is one of 9,272 doctors in the last 5 years who has the knowledge and skills to serve, yet is forced to sit on the bench while our country is in need of doctors because he hasn't been matched with a residency program. In the U.S., there are 28,849 medical residencies available annually. These residencies are funded through Medicaid. That's $50,000 to $65,000 per year per doctor, which is how our taxpayer dollars are being invested in the possibility of American children becoming doctors. A residency is a critical part of the track to getting licensed by the state to practice medicine. Without a state license, a doctor remains in a limbo state, unable to work. Current statistics state that 94% of medical graduates find placement in a 3 to 5 year residency program. Meanwhile, 54% of physicians trained abroad who apply receive residencies at U.S. teaching hospitals.
That statistic of 94% of U.S. medical students matching into residency programs in the USA, it's frustrating for me because 94% sounds like a good number. It's over 90%. But you're ignoring the 6% of students who do not match in residency. And what that 6% really represents is about 1,100 U.S. medical students per year that are not matching into residency, are unable to move forward, and they don't have jobs. And they're even worse, they're burdened with a $250,000 student loan for their medical education here in the USA. There are about 29,000 total residency positions in the U.S. That's all the specialties. And there are about 19,000 U.S. graduates per year and about another 1,000 previous graduates per year. So there's an abundance of positions available, but yet how are 1,100 U.S. medical students not matching in residency every year? When I started looking at the statistics, I found out that about 3,700 physicians trained abroad who are non-U.S. citizens are being selected into U.S. residency programs per year. This is over the 1,100 U.S. medical students who are not being selected for residency training programs. This is a relatively new problem, probably within the last 10, 20 years. It's happened in the past, but the numbers used to be considerably smaller. There was a few students here or there that didn't match in residency, and they moved on to find other careers. But now when you're talking about 1,100 per year that aren't finding that are moving on to residency. It's become a bigger problem. And for me personally, the struggle to find an alternative career, it's tough. It's just because I have a doctorate degree, it doesn't mean I can have a job. It's specific to one job, and if I'm not doing that job, I'm either underqualified for other jobs or I'm overqualified. So when I found out that it wasn't just me, and there were about 1,100 U.S. medical students per year that aren't matched in residency, and there were about 3,700 physicians trained abroad who are non-U.S. citizens matching into residency positions in the USA, I reached out to the governing bodies of medical education, and they responded to say that they valued taking physicians who were trained abroad because it brought diversity into the system, and the diversity helped improve the system of our U.S. medical education. I mean, my father's from El Salvador, so I value diversity as well. And diversity is great when you're included part of that diversity, but when you're excluded from that diversity, especially in this setting, there are real consequences. And in my particular case, I mean, I'm burdened with a huge loan that some of these other foreign trained physicians who are non-U.S. citizens, they didn't invest into the U.S. medical education. They don't have any loans. And so I'm burdened with that loan, and I need to find an alternative career. In 2014, I did an externship at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington, D.C. It's a mental health hospital. I worked with other externs who were physicians trained abroad from India, Pakistan, Iran. There was another trainee from the Philippines. And we talked about costs of medical education. And their medical education in their countries was about $500 to $1,000 total. Their countries the state subsidizes their medical education, so they don't have student loans. They weren't burdened by the $250,000 student loan that I had to invest in for medical education in the United States. This argument that there's a shortage of doctors in the United States and we need to bring in physicians trained abroad who are non-U.S. citizens to fill in the shortage of doctors is ignoring the 1,100 U.S. medical students per year that are not matching into residency, and they don't have the license to practice in these underserved areas. And if you look at this over a 5-year period, there are about 9,200 U.S. medical students that are not moving forward into residency. They can't get their license, and they're unable to practice in these underserved areas. There's an opportunity to improve policy with the Supplemental Offer Acceptance Program to prioritize U.S. medical graduates to help ensure that they have residency positions, able to get their license and move forward with their careers. Right now, the Supplemental Offer Acceptance Program, the SOAP, doesn't prioritize U.S. medical graduates. So they're competing with physicians trained abroad who are non-U.S. citizens. Instead of taking 3,700 physicians who train abroad, if we lowered that number by 1,000, by 1,500, and took 1,500 physicians who train abroad each year, we could help ensure that every U.S. medical graduate is able to match into residency training program, able to pursue his or her license, and able to have a job afterwards, and not be burdened by student loan debt.
If we don't look at the growing shortage of doctors in the U.S. now, there will be repercussions in the future in our medical system's ability to service the demands of the growing population as it ages. We also have the option to save more lives. If we consider creating a new truth so that future medical doctors transition easily into the positions we so desperately want them to fill, how great would that feel to know we are actively building a better future?